protested against the policy of the colonial government. This is the number one aspect. Number two aspect is that railway also required a large number of logs for the for its line, and that's why they realize the need of specific forest policy in India. ए पॉइंट बुझी पारले?
Yes, sir.
एक डाउट रहिला? Hopefully not. हाँ. Third point होउची आमे जतबेले कहूचे, third point is the agricultural expansion. Okay, agricultural expansion. As I said earlier many times that the main agenda of the colonial government was how to take more profit or wealth or revenue from India. That was their sole aim. That was their main objective. They never came here to settle down for the longer period. You may not find any British citizen in India after independence, because their objective was how to take more wealth from this subcontinent. Okay, so anyhow, what happened, as I said, after 1830s, it had been seen that gradually, as you know, आपण सब जानी थिबे 1813 चार्टर एक्ट विषय की जानी चंदी कोई परिवे 1813 चार्टर एक्ट रे कोन हला आपण पढिबे जदि आपण चाहू चंदी हिस्ट्री विषय की जानिबा को चाहू चंदी कारण एई पेपर हे पर आपण एग्जाम पे हेल्पफुल हबो किंतु एटा आपण पुनी भूली जिवे जदि तार बेसिक जिंस आपण जानि थिबे मु आपण जे कोन टीचर आपण पढाई देबे एटा दोस्तनी तार किछि फ्रूटफुल हबोनी आपण तेन बेसिक जिंस जानिया पडियो. Anyway, let me explain. What happened actually? Again, go on.
Sir, in 1813, British Parliament renewed their that charter.
No, what is that basically? Second thila.
Seta.
Okay. What was that? Simple, very simple thing. Anyway, let me explain. So, 1830 Charter Act is all about that the British government tried to abolish the monopoly right of British East India Company in India. That was their sole aim. Because why such kind of things happen? Normally, because when Industrial Revolution started, and along with East India Company, other multinational companies also wanted to do their business or sell their products in Indian market, and they compelled British Parliament, or they compelled both House of Lords and House of Commons to make certain policies by which all the multinational companies could do their business with India or in Indian market. As an outcome of that, the monopoly right of East India Company in India was abolished, except its trade with China. Otherwise, most of its monopoly right was abolished. When monopoly right was abolished, automatically other multinational companies or other companies, they engaged with India. When they engaged with India, automatically the bargain power of the East India Company declined. And as you know that when there will be many players in a specific market, because many companies, they got involved in industries. And when many companies got involved in industries, the profit margin gradually declined. So some of the companies in Britain, they tried to focus, or they tried to deviate their focus from direct industries to raw material product. Direct industries to raw material product or the production of raw materials. And that's as a result what happened, we have the commercialization of agriculture or commercialization of cash crops. So commercialization of cash crop is directly associated with the agricultural expansion in India. ଆପଣମାନେ କହିପାରିବେ କି କେହି ଆମର କମର୍ସିଆଲାଇଜେସନ ଅଫ ଏଗ୍ରିକଲଚର କାହାକୁ ଆମେ କହନ୍ତି? ଆମର ଆପଣ କ୍ୟାଶ କ୍ରପ କହିଲେ କିଛି ବୁଝୁଛନ୍ତି ତା ଅର୍ଥ?
ସାର୍
ହଁ କୁହନ୍ତୁ, କ୍ୟାଶ କ୍ରପ କହିଲେ ଆମେ କଣ ବୁଝୁଛେ?
Sir, question ଟା ଆଉଥରେ କହିବେ?
ଯଦି ଆପଣ ହଁ ଆପଣ କ୍ୟାଶ କ୍ରପ କହିଲେ ତା ଅର୍ଥ କଣ? କିମ୍ବା
Sir,
କମର୍ସିଆଲାଇଜେସନ ଅଫ ଏଗ୍ରିକଲଚର, ଆଜ୍ଞା କୁହନ୍ତୁ।
sir, crops which can be sold in the market to gain profit like sugarcane, tea, coffee.
Yeah,
And,
that's the point. That is basically the crops which are cultivated for the sake of market or to generate revenue, generate money from the market, that is known as cash crop. ठीक है जी? The point is here is that ମୁଁ କହୁଛି ଯେତେବେଳେ ଇଣ୍ଡଷ୍ଟ୍ରି ଇଣ୍ଡିଆରେ ବହୁତ କମ୍ପାନୀ ଇନଭଲ୍ଭ ହେଲେ ଇଣ୍ଡଷ୍ଟ୍ରିଜରେ, ଠିକ ଅଛି, ଯାହା ଫଳରେ ଧୀରେ ଧୀରେ କ'ଣ ହେଲା, ଯେତେବେଳେ କମ୍ପିଟିସନ ବଢିଗଲା, many industries or many multinational companies they could not sustain in the competition. As a result, what they did, they changed their direction of investment. And as a matter of fact, during that time, what happened, many British wealthy person or capitalist class, they try to invest their capital in India, particular in the field of cash crops. And that is popularly known as commercialization of cash crop. On the one side, those cash crops also played a very significant role in the production making of Britain. It may be jute, it may be indigo, it may be sugar cane, it may be any other kind of things, coffee, tea, right? Because these are the products India always export to other world, and it was a very profitable business, throughout colonial period, even prior to the colonial period. So now what happened? Many British capitalist class, they requested the British government in India to allow them and make or and facilitate them to begin cash crop in India. And that's as a result what happened, we have the commercialization of cash crop. And when the commercialization of cash crop began, many forest areas, fertile forest areas were also cut down by the British authorities or British government for the sake of cultivating cash crop. And when such phenomena began, local people raised their voice, mainly forest dwellers. Take the case. Suppose the tribal people, they vehemently opposed the decision of the colonial government regarding the cleaning of or regarding the clearance of forest land. So these, as I said earlier, these are the three aspects by which the colonial government compelled to formulate certain policies by which it became easy for its own benefit and own survival. এই পয়েন্টটা বুঝি পারলে? Hopefully আপনারা বুঝিଥିବେ. Anyway, যদি ନ ବୁଝି ପାରିଲେ ଆପଣ ମୋତେ ପଚାରିବେ ମଝିରେ. ଟିକେ ସ୍ପିଡ୍ ଅପ୍ କରିବା, କାରଣ ଏବେ ସମୟ ରହୁନି, ଆମେ ଡିଟେଲ ଯାଉଛେ. Let's talk about what are the forest policies or forest acts were formulated by the British government. The number in 1865, just write down or you can remember it. In 1865, Indian Forest Department was established. In 1865, Indian Forest Department was established. And in the same year, first Indian Forest Act came in. In 1865, a separate department for the management of forest was established. Along with the establishment of forest department, the first act of the forest also formulated this year. Okay, and what was the significant or what was the main provision of this act? The main provision of this act was that it gave the power to its officer to formulate any policies in the local levels as far as the utilization of forest resources are concerned. ଏ ପଏଣ୍ଟଟା ବୁଝିପାରିଲେ ଆପଣ ମାନେ?
Yes, sir.
ଆମେ କହୁଛେ 1865 ରେ ଡିପାର୍ଟମେଣ୍ଟ ଖୋଲାଗଲା, ତା ସହିତ ଆମର କ'ଣ କରାଗଲା, ଫରେଷ୍ଟ ଆକ୍ଟ ଆସିଲା 1865, ପ୍ରଥମ ଫରେଷ୍ଟ ଆକ୍ଟ ଆସିଲା। ইয়ার ମୋଷ୍ଟ ସିଗ୍ନିଫିକାଣ୍ଟ ଆସ୍ପେକ୍ଟ ଯେତେବେଳେ ଆମେ କହୁଛେ କ'ଣ ପ୍ରୋଭିଜନ ଥିଲା, ଏଇ ପ୍ରୋଭିଜନ ଏୟାର ରହିଲା ଆକ୍ଟରେ କି ବ୍ରିଟିଶର ଯୋଉ ଅଫିସର ଅଛନ୍ତି, ଠିକ ଅଛି, ସେମାନେ କୌଣସି ପ୍ରକାର ଲୋକାଲ ଲେବୁଲରେ କିମ୍ବା ରିଜନାଲ ଲେବୁଲରେ କୌଣସି ପ୍ରକାର ପଲିସି ଫର୍ମୁଲେଟ କରିପାରିବେ ଅନ୍ ଦ ଇସ୍ୟୁ ଅଫ ଫରେଷ୍ଟ। ଠିକ ଅଛି, ଯଦି ସେମାନେ ଚାହିଁବେ କୌଣସି ଫରେଷ୍ଟ ଯଦି ଗାଁ ବାଲାଙ୍କର ଗୋଟେ ଗାଁ ପ୍ରୋଟେକ୍ଟ କରିଛି କିମ୍ବା ତାକୁ ରିଜର୍ଭ କରି ରଖିଛି, ଦେ କ୍ୟାନ୍ ଟେକ୍ ଆୱେ ଦ୍ୟାଟ୍ ଫରେଷ୍ଟ ଫ୍ରମ୍ ଦ ହ୍ୟାଣ୍ଡସ ଅଫ ଦ ଭିଲେଜର୍ସ। ଠିକ ଅଛି ନା ନାଇଁ କି? ମୁଁ ଯୋଉଟା ଆଗରୁ କହୁଥିଲି ଏଇଟା ୟା ପଛରେ ସବୁଠୁ ଗୋଟେ ବଡ କାରଣ ଥିଲା, କାରଣ ରେଲୱେ ପାଇଁ ଯେତିକି ଲକ୍ସ ଦରକାର, ଯୋଉ ଲକ୍ସ ଦରକାର, ସଫିସିଏଣ୍ଟ ଆଣ୍ଡ ସୁଇଟେବଲ ଲକ୍ସ ଦରକାର, ଗଛ ମଣ୍ଡି ଦରକାର କିମ୍ବା ତାର ତିଆରି କରିବା ପାଇଁ, ବ୍ରିଟିଶ ଗଭର୍ଣ୍ଣମେଣ୍ଟ ବହୁତ ସଫର କଲା ତା ପାଇଁ, ବହୁତ ମନି, ଇଟ୍ ସ୍ପେଣ୍ଡ ଏ ଲଟ୍ ଅଫ ମନି ଫର ଦ୍ୟାଟ୍ ପର୍ପସ। ତେଣୁ ସେମାନେ ଚାହିଁଲେ କି ଆମେ ଇଣ୍ଡିଆରେ ଯୋଉ ଫରେଷ୍ଟ ଗୁଡାକ ଅଛି, ସୋ ବେସିକାଲି ଆମେ କହିପାରିବା 1865 ଫରେଷ୍ଟ ଆକ୍ଟ gave the monopoly right to the British government in India, by which it exercised its power in any given point of time। ଯେକୌଣସି ସମୟରେ ସେମାନେ କିଛି ବି କରିପାରିବେ ସେ ପାୱାର ଦ୍ୱାରା। କୌଣସି ଜଙ୍ଗଲ କାଟି ପାରିବେ କିମ୍ବା କୌଣସି ଜଙ୍ଗଲକୁ ମନା କରିଦେଇ ପାରିବେ, ଲୋକଙ୍କୁ ଏ ଜଙ୍ଗଲକୁ ଯାଅନି, ରାଇଟ? ସୋ ଇଟ୍ ଗେଭ୍ ମ୍ୟାକ୍ସିମମ୍ ପାୱାର ଟୁ ଇଟ୍ସ ଅଫିସର୍ସ। ଏ ପଏଣ୍ଟଟା ବୁଝିପାରିଲେ?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. बुझिला।
Okay, next act is 1878 Act. 1878 Act. Next forest act जो हमें कहूँ Indian Forest Act of 1878. When this act or the proposal came in 1876 and 77, three debates emerged. The number one is just write down. The number one is annexist, annexation is ANNEXTIONNISTS, annexationist. This is the number one. Number two, pragmatist or pragmatic, and number three is the populist. Okay, number one is the annexist, number two is the pragmatist, number three is the populist. Three debates emerged when 1877 and 76 the proposal for the next forest act came in. Annexists argued that, and what was their argument? that the colonial government should keep all the forest under its control. Okay, first group says that the colonial government should keep all the forest under its control. Number two is the pragmatist. They says that the ownership of the forest or authority of the forest should be in the hands of the government or should be under the control of the government, but it can be used by the local people. It can be used by the local people. Okay. And number three is that, third point, populist. Third point says that, or third group says that forest should be under the protection of the local communities or the village communities. এই তিনটা পয়েন্ট বুঝি পারলে?
Sir, can you kindly please repeat the pragmatist?
Pragmatist ଅର୍ଥ ହେଉଛି କି ସେମାନେ annexist ଅର୍ଥ ହେଉଛି ସେ କହୁଛନ୍ତି ଯୋଉଗୁଡା ଇମ୍ପୋର୍ଟାଣ୍ଟ ଜଙ୍ଗଲ ଅଛି, ଫରେଷ୍ଟ ଏରିଆ ଅଛି, ଠିକ ଅଛି, ସବୁ ଫରେଷ୍ଟ ହେଉଛି ସରକାରର, ତେଣୁ ସରକାର ତା କଣ୍ଟ୍ରୋଲ ଭିତରେ ରଖିବା ଦରକାର. ଦିସ୍ ଇଜ ଦ ଫାର୍ଷ୍ଟ ୱାନ୍, annexist. ପ୍ରାଗମାଟିଷ୍ଟ କଥା କହୁଛନ୍ତି ସେମାନେ ଯଦିଓ ସବୁ ଜିନିଷ ଗୁଡାକ ସରକାରର, ଠିକ ଅଛି, ବଟ୍ ଦ ଲୋକାଲ ପିପଲ should enjoy the forest resources, but at the same time the government can make its laws to prohibit the local people to enter into the forest. Eta hoche second point ta, thik achi. Third point ta kon thila jame kohuche populist, jota ame kohuche semane kohuchanti forest ta counter ru rohiba katha, lokko mane counter rohu, लोक मान प्रिजर्व करंतु, विलेजेस हो, विलेज कम्युनिटी हो किंबा कोन ट्राइबल कम्युनिटी हो, जेमिति आगुर चली थिला, द वे इट वाज फंक्शनिंग प्रीवियसली, इट शुड कंटिन्यू. ए पॉइंट मैडम बुझी परले आपण?
Yes sir, thank you sir, thank you very much.
Okay. So and finally it was decided that all the forests in India would be under the control of the colonial government. Okay, would be under the colonial government. Along with that, it also classified the forest areas into three categories. The forest areas into three categories. The number one category is the reserve forest. The number one is the reserve forest. And what is reserve forest? If any forest having valuable resources, adjoining to any cities and town would be considered as a reserve forest. Okay, जदि कोनोसी प्रकार फॉरेस्ट एरिया जोटा सिटी किबा हैबिटेशनल एरिया पाखे अछि, टाउन पाखे अछि, आउ सेटा तो सरकार चिंता कला कि नहीं बहुत रिसोर्सेस से भीतर अछि, जो फॉरेस्ट रिसोर्सेस हम कथा कहूचे, it would be considered as a reserve forest. ये पॉइंट बुझी परले आपण?
Yes sir.
हां, नेक्स्ट होची हमर होची प्रोटेक्टेड फॉरेस्ट. What is protected forest? In the reserve forest, one very significant thing I am saying, in reserve forest, that means none of the common people can enter into the reserve forest. That means it would be under the direct control of the authorities, and the authority will keep vigilant eyes on the reserve forest. तार तो साधारण लोक मानक पाई रिजर्व फॉरेस्ट को एंट्री करिबा किंबा कोनसे प्रकार ता रिसोर्सेस यूज करिबार अधिकार रहिबनी एटा बुझी पाले आपण माने सेकंड पॉइंट जोटा हम कहली ओके सेकंड पॉइंट होची प्रोटेक्टेड फॉरेस्ट टिके डिफरेंस टिके रहित आपण बुझियो चेष्टा करिवे प्रोटेक्टेड फॉरेस्ट इज सिमिलर टू द रिजर्व फॉरेस्ट that means it will be under the direct control of the colonial government but at the same time the common people or the local people had the access for grazing of the cattle and such kind of activities बुझी पारले रिजर्व फॉरेस्ट कहा को अला करा हो नथिला प्रोटेक्टेड फॉरेस्ट कोन हबो जो मन लोकल लोक रहउचंती से माने तांकर कैटल नै कि ग्रेजिंग करि परिबे बट देयर वाज ए क्लॉज रखा गला एट एनी पॉइंट ऑफ टाइम दे कैन बी डेवर्ड टू एंटर इनटू द फॉरेस्ट इफ द लोकल अथॉरिटीज फेल्ट सो यार्थ होउची जदी परमिशन मिलिला माने साधारण लोक माने जाय कि तांकर गोरु गाई चरै परिबे किंबा ग्रेजिंग करि परिबे किंतु तास्त मध्ये गुटे क्लॉज रखा गला जदी लोकल अथॉरिटीज और ब्रिटिश अथॉरिटीज रहउचंती से माने जदी चाहिबे ताले कोनोसी सामयिक समय पाई गुटे सर्टेन पीरियड पाई लोक मान मध्ये प्रोहिबिट करि परिबे नॉट टू एंटर इनटू द प्रोटेक्टेड फॉरेस्ट ए पॉइंट बुझी परले
यस सर बुझियो सर
Okay. Third point is the village forest. Third point is the village forest, and village forest was totally under the control of the local communities. That means it came under the village communities or village groups. That means the authority of the control of this type of forest was held in the hand of villagers. आमे धर जो मन रखिते आपण देखुथिबे गा पाखा पाखी जो जंगल गुडा थाए मोरलेस से माने गा जंगल आमे कोहंती ठीक अछि रे नै कारण गा लोक माने प्रोटेक्ट करि थांती ठीक अछि ताकू निजे यूज करि पारंती सो विलेज as far as the use of the forest resources are concerned only in the village forest can be utilized by the local people directly बुझी पारले
अरे आउ थरे
आमे जोटा विलेज फॉरेस्ट कथा कहूचे विलेज फॉरेस्ट कोन हला ऊपर तीनटा रहला डायरेक्ट कंट्रोल का अंडर रहला अथॉरिटी कंट्रोल रे तो विलेज जो फॉरेस्ट तयारी करा गला किबा जो जंगल पाखा पाखी थिला से लोक मान दिया गला कि आपण मान गांडा आपण जंगल टे आपण गां पाखी अछि तेणु आपण तार रक्षणाबेक्षण करंतु ठीक अछि रक्षणाबेक्षण करिवा सहित आपण माने से जंगल रे काठ यूज करि पारंती ग्रेजिंग पर्पस रे यूज करि पारंती किंबा आपण को कोनोसी प्रकार फॉरेस्ट रिसोर्सेस जेमिति कोनोसी महू झुणा चाहा भी अछि ताको आपण यूज करि पारिबे ठीक अछि रे नै कि दैट मींस such kind of forest were under the direct control of the village communities.
Yes sir.
ठीक है ना नहीं कि
हाँ सर
ओके होपफुली समस्त आपण बुझिले नेक्स्ट इज दैट नेक्स्ट फॉरेस्ट एक्ट जोटा हम कहूचे ठीक अछि मझिरे बहुत जिंस डिबेट हेछि मु जाई पारुने कारण समय अभाव नेक्स्ट फॉरेस्ट एक्ट हमर हेछि 1894 was direct replica of 1865 Act. 1894 Forest Act was direct replica of 1865 Act, because their sole why this act was formulated, they tried to enhance the revenue For the sake of revenue generation or more revenue, again the colonial government formulated this law or formulated this policy. And what was the core of these policies? Except some areas, except some areas, just like pastoral land, except pastoral land, all the remaining forest lands were directly controlled by the colonial authorities. Except pasture land हो जोटा हमें कहूचे ए चरा भूई जोटा हमें कहूचे ठीक अछि ना नहीं कि सब अन्य गुडा को कोन करा गला सब गुडा सरकार तो अंडर रहला ठीक अछि ना नहीं कि and not only that, even the government during this by this act, the government without, and there was a clause that means the local people did not have any kind of right to their peripheral forest if British authorities caught any trees or the bunches of the trees. यार तो सिंपलीफाई करूचे हमें कहूचे 1894 टा कोन कला गला 1865 रेप्लिका हमें कहूचे एथरे कोन करा गला पास्टोरल लैंड छाडी जोटा को हमें कहू चरा भूई छाडी सब गुडा को वर्तमान कोन करा गला आसिला सरकार कंट्रोल को आसिला ठीक है आगुर भी थिला बट एथरे आहुरी रिजिड कर दिया गला even the people are not allowed to enter into some of the protected forest or reserved forest जोटा विलेज फॉरेस्ट थिला आगु वो विलेज फॉरेस्ट सिस्टम हटे दिया गला आल विलेज कंट्रोल रहिबो नै ठीक अछि ना नहीं कि एक्सेप्ट द पास्टोरल लैंड अगेन आई एम रिपीटिंग सो दिस इज द न्यू डेवलपमेंट दैट हैपेंड इन 1894 ठीक अछि बुझि पाले कोन माने ओके आ गोटे पॉइंट आ गोटे जिंस आपण माने जानिबा दरकार हमर 1878 एक्ट अनुसार गोटे फॉरेस्ट स्कूल डेवलप करा गला ठीक अछि जोटा बर्तन डेराडून रे अछि इट वाज एस्टैब्लिश्ड इन डेराडून ए फॉरेस्ट स्कूल एंड दिस स्कूल trained the officer of the forest department okay in 1878 आपण माने जदि के कॉम्पिटिटिव एग्जाम प्रिपेयर करू छंती इट कैन बी यूजफुल राइट okay so next act is 1927 act 1927 act and what is 1927 act is the last act which was formulated by the colonial government what is that basically it gave the power to the state officials it gave the power to the state officials to classify the forest areas under their jurisdiction again I am repeating 1927 Forest Act gave the power or it enhanced the power of state or state officials to classify the forest according to their calculation or according to their observation under their jurisdiction जदि सपोज आमे जो उदाहरण दे परिबा भाबंतु गुटे टेक द केस ऑफ खोर्धा जंगल एरिया बहुत अछि ठीक अछि भाबंतु खोर्धा कलेक्टर अछंती ठीक अछि ना कलेक्टर पावर तांकर रहिला से जदि चाहिबे जे खोर्धांक अंडर जेति जुरिस्डिक्शन भीतर आसुची को जंगलटा रिजर्व रहिबो को जंगलटा प्रोटेक्टेड रहिबो को जंगलटा विलेज पाखे रहिबो एगुडा से डिमार्केट करि परिबे ताको इच्छा अनुसार that means the central government or central authority won't interfere in the matter of classification of the forest ए पॉइंट बुझी परले
Yes, sir. Yes,
ଆଉ
sir.
ଗୋଟେ
Yes, sir.
okay. Next is that ଆଉ ଗୋଟେ significant point ରହିଲା. Next is that as far as timber, oaks and other valuable trees are concerned, the common people were not allowed to cut such trees. That means the common Indians were not allowed to cut oaks, timbers and such valuable trees. I mean, simplify koriba. The colonial government categorized some of the forest trees that was prohibited to cut down by the local people. ठीक अच्छे पॉइंट बुझी पारे आपण माने
sir.
if anybody violate this policy or this order of the government, then he was penalized by the authority or as per the court of law. जदि केही ताको भायोलेट करूथिले गछ काटी दउथिले किंबा जो सिग्निफिकेंट गछ ना इंपोर्टेंट गछ गुडा जो हम कहूचे जदि केही काटी दउथिले ताहाले कोन करा जाउथिला ताको पेनलाइज करा जाउथिला किंबा ताको कोर्ट ऑफ लॉ जहा रहुथिला जुरिस्डिक्शन रे ताको से अनुसार जेल पूरा होतला. इट्स अप टू द गवर्नमेंट हाउ इट टेक दैट इशू. ठीक अछि
Sir.
ओके किछि कर आपन मन डाउट रहला कि को पॉइंटटा okay hopefully not. So and last point regarding a 1927 act is that it also classify the duties and powers of different forest officers in different zones. Okay, it also classify the duties and power of different forest officers. धरा जाऊ को फॉरेस्ट ऑफिसर कोनटा पावर रहिबो आगु नथिला सेमिति किछि. ठीक अछि कोन एक्सरसाइज पावर एक्सरसाइज करिवे से जिंस गुडा को किछि भी नथिला. एथिरे कोन करा गला ए एक्ट बळ रे बर्तन ताकू डिमार्केट करा गला. धरा जो गुटे फॉरेस्ट नॉर्मल फॉरेस्टर कोन करिवो डीएफओ कोन करिवो ता ऊपर को ता ऊपर कोन करिवे सब गुडा को क्लासिफाई करा गला कैटेगराइज करा गला. So hierarchy, that I am simplified to kohiba, hierarchy was introduced in the forest department. बुझी पारला आपण ए पॉइंट ता.
Yes, sir.
ओके सो आपण माने आ 15 मिनिट समय दे परिबे मो वाटर कंजर्वेशन दा कंप्लीट करि परिबी नले मते मु पुनी काली करि डिस्कशन करिया पड़िबो.
Yes, sir.
एबे कोन सर एबे कोन.
Okay, okay. Let's talk about this. Is all about the some sort of forest policies which were implemented and introduced by the colonial government. Let's talk about water conservation or water policies. जोटा कमे कहूचे. There is no doubt. Colonial government did not take any substantial step. Did not take any substantial step for the water management system or for the sake of water management system. To analyze the water management system of the colonial government, we can classify the debate into three categories. Tinita debate heitila. Number one is that irrigation strategy. Three debates emerged related to the water management. Number one, irrigation strategy. Number two, decline of traditional water management system or traditional harvesting technology. Okay. The number one is irrigation strategy. Number two is decline of traditional water harvesting technology or traditional water management system. Number three, limited development of colonial hydraulic project, limited development of colonial hydraulic project. Okay, so these are the three debates which are associated with the water management system or water management policy of the colonial government. আমি তিনটা জিনিসটাকে এক্সপ্লেন করিবা one after another. প্রথমটা হচ্ছে ইরিগেশন স্ট্র্যাটেজি. It is believed by many scholars, most of the historians and most of the scholars, that the colonial government did not have any kind of specific irrigation strategy. And irrigation strategy was largely associated with the introduction of commercialization of cash crop. So what happened basically, the areas where the British capitalists invested their capital to grow the commercial crops, the colonial government only watered those lands or provided water to those lands. ଆପଣ ବୁଝିପାରିଲେ ତାଙ୍କର ଇରିଗେସନ ଷ୍ଟ୍ରାଟେଜି କ'ଣ ଥିଲା? ଗୋଟେ ସେ ସାଧାରଣ ଲୋକମାନେ କେମିତି ବେନିଫିଟ ହେବେ, କମନ ଇଣ୍ଡିଆନ୍ସ କେମିତି ବେନିଫିଟ ହେବେ, ତାଙ୍କ ଇରିଗେସନ ଷ୍ଟ୍ରାଟେଜି ଭିତରେ ସେଟା ତାଙ୍କର ଏଜେଣ୍ଡା ଭିତରେ ନଥିଲା. ଯାହା ବି ଇରିଗେସନ ସେମାନେ କରିଥିଲେ, ହ୍ୱାଟ ଏଭର ଇରିଗେସନ, ଆମେ ଯଦି କହିବା ଆମର ଯଦି ଟେକ୍ ଦ କେସ୍ ଅଫ କ୍ରିଷ୍ଣା ରିଭର ପ୍ରୋଜେକ୍ଟ ହେଇଥିଲା, ଠିକ ଅଛି, ଆମର ଗାଙ୍ଗେସ ପ୍ରୋଜେକ୍ଟ ହେଇଥିଲା, ଯମୁନା ପ୍ରୋଜେକ୍ଟ ହେଇଥିଲା, ଆର୍ଥର କଟନ जोटा हमर साउथ इंडिया रो माड्रास प्रेसिडेंट ଆମେ कहू आर्थर कॉटन, he is a very reputed hydrologist who developed few canals in South India. आर्थर कॉटन होपफुली आपण माने जानि थिए नाटा. तेणु आमे यदि एनालाइज करूछे, हिस्टोरियन माने कहउचंती कि ब्रिटिश colonial government रो किछ स्ट्रेटजी ही नथिला. It did not have any kind of strategy to provide irrigation water to the common Indians. Whatever irrigational activities were done, those irrigational activities were only for the sake of British capitalist class, who invested their capital, as I said earlier, for the sake of growing cash crop. A point of बुझिपारले?
सर आउ थरे कहंतु.
आमे कहूचे, आमे प्रथम पॉइंट कहूचे जो सिग्निफिकेंट पॉइंट हिस्टोरियन माने सेटा को कोनटा केमि देखुचंती. आई एम नॉट टेकिंग द नेम ऑफ द सम ऑफ द हिस्टोरियंस. से माने कहूचंती फास्ट आर्गुमेंट डेवलप होउची, से माने कहूचंती ब्रिटिश गवर्नमेंट रो किछि पॉलिसी नथिला इरिगेशन ऊपर, ठीक अछि. इट डिड नॉट हैव एनी काइंड ऑफ स्ट्रेटजी और पॉलिसी. से माने कहूचंती जो जहां भी इरिगेशन एक्टिविटीज हेतिला से गुड़ा को केवल काहाकू सोहुतिला, जो माने मुझे कहली कैश क्रॉप, जो माने ब्रिटिश कैपिटलिस्ट क्लास, जो माने तांकर टंका कि वेल्थ इन्वेस्ट करथिले इंडिया रे, ठीक अछि, तांको स्वार्थ को सोहेला भଳି किछि जागे जोड कैश क्रॉप होउची, सेही जागा केवल इरिगेशन फैसिलिटीज दिया गला किबा पानी वाटर तांको प्रोवाइड करा गला. बट as far as the common people of India is concerned, they were not at all benefited by the irrigation facilities or irrigational development by the colonial government. A point of बुझिले आपण माने?
यस सर.
सेकंड पॉइंट आमे कहूचे, हिस्टोरियन माने ब्लेम करूचंती colonial government को. से कहूचंती on the one side they did not have any specific plan, irrigational plan for the common Indians. On the other side they also destroyed the traditional technology or traditional water harvesting technology or system developed by the indigenous people. तो हम सिंप्लीफाई करूचे ए पॉइंट को, हिस्टोरियन ने कहउचंती कि इरिगेशन तो फैसिलिटीज माने किछि कोलेनी, ता सहित से माने मध्ये प्रॉब्लम क्रिएट कोले. introduction of railways, they did not have any plan. ତେଣୁ ସେମାନେ କ'ଣ କଲେ, ରୋଡ ତିଆରି କରିବା ଚକ୍କରରେ କିମ୍ବା ରେଲୱେ ଟ୍ରାକ୍ ତିଆରି କରିବା ଚକ୍କରରେ ସେମାନେ କ'ଣ କଲେ, କିମ୍ବା କୌଣସିରେ ତାଙ୍କ ପାଇଁ କେନାଲ ତିଆରି କରିବା ଚକ୍କରରେ ସେମାନେ କ'ଣ କଲେ, ଯୋଉ ଗୁଡାକ ଆଗରୁ ତିଆରି ହେଇକି ଲୋକମାନେ ୱାଟର ହାର୍ଭେଷ୍ଟିଂ କରୁଥିଲେ ସେଗୁଡା ମଧ୍ୟ ବହୁତ ଡେଷ୍ଟ୍ରୟ କରିଦେଲେ, ଯାହା ଫଳରେ ଦ କମନ ଇଣ୍ଡିଆନ୍ସ they lose their possibility of water irrigation from both sides. ନା ଏପଟୁ ପାଣି ମିଳିଲା ନା ସେପଟୁ ପାଣି ମିଳିଲା. We can give one example. ଆମେ ଗୋଟେ example ଏଇ context ରେ ଦେଇ ପାରିବା. What happened in the late part of second half of the 19th century, it was decided that some sort of irrigational activities would be done in the Punjab region, mainly northwestern part of India. Decide करा गला कि ये पंजाब region टा एबे जेमिति पंजाब स्टेट सेमिति पंजाब बहुत बड़ा एरिया थिला, ठीक अछि. तेनु डिसाइड करा गला कि पंजाब एरिया टा को वाटर इरिगेशन करा जिवो, ठीक अछि. When the government started constructing canals, it destroyed a large number of traditional water management system or traditional water bodies. So due to the lack of farsightedness by the colonial authorities, even the indigenous or traditional water management system also collapsed. ए पॉइंट बुझी पारले आपण माने?
Yes, sir.
बुझी पारले तो?
Yes, sir.
Hopefully. Yes. I will be talking about some few art. टाइम हमरो बहुत कम अछि तेनु मते डिटेल जाई पारुनी. In 1901 आ गोटे जिनिस मु कहियो खाली गोटे पॉइंट को ऐड करूची. इरिगेशन पछरे गोटे आउट बड़ कारण थिला फेमिन एंड ड्राउट, रेगुलर विजिटेशन ऑफ फेमिन एंड ड्राउट. जेहेतु सुखा पड़ी जाउतला, फेमिन रहउतला, लोक माने बहुत मरि जाउतले, तेनु एग्रीकल्चर जो लोक ऊपर बहुत नेगेटिव इंपैक्ट पड़ुतला, जेहेतु खाद्य शोषण होतला, बहुत मरि जाउतले. एंड इन द व्हाट हैपेंड, the colonial government was severely criticized by the international level. ଯେତେବେଳେ ଭାବ ବ୍ରିଟେନଟା କଲୋନି ଅଛି, ଲୋକ ଏଠି ମରି ଚାଲିବେ, ଠିକ ଅଛି ନା ନାଇଁ କି? ୟୁରୋପରେ ବ୍ରିଟେନର ବହୁତ ବଦନାମୀ ହେଲା, ଠିକ ଅଛି ନା ନାଇଁ କି? ତେଣୁ ସେମାନେ ଚାହିଁଲେ କିଛି ନା କିଛି ଏମିତି ସିଷ୍ଟମ କରିବେ ଯାହା ଫଳରେ ଆଟଲିଷ୍ଟ ଦ ପିପୁଲ won't die in hunger, ଠିକ ଅଛି ନା ନାଇଁ କି? ତେଣୁ ଯାହାବି ଆମର irrigation किंवा canal system develop ହେଇଛି, try to understand one of the significant reason is that to stop the hunger in India caused by famine and drought. जो सुखा पड़ी जाउछ ଆମେ कहूचे, ठीक अछि, सुखा और हमर दुर्भिक्ष जेतेबेला ଆମେ कहूचे. ए पॉइंट बुझी पाले ना?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
हमर 1880 मसिया रे a famine commission, 1880s famine commission proposed to the colonial government to formulate certain policies to irrigate water to the agricultural land to avoid future drought and famine. 1880 मसिया जो फैमिली कमिशन, विभिन्न कमिशन है मन रखि तांदो, मु गोटे कमिशन कथा कहूची. 1880 मसिया जो कमिशन हेतिला, से कमिशन प्रपोजल देला गवर्नमेंट को कि सब गोटे बड़ कारण होउची पानी अभाव जो, पानी जो चाष हे पारुन ठीक से, लोक माने मरि जाउछन. तेणु से गोटे प्रपोजल देला कि टू स्टॉप सच काइंड ऑफ adverse situation, the government need to expand its irrigational activities. ठीक अच्छे ना नहीं कि एंड इन 1901 मसीह रे फर्स्ट इरिगेशन कमिशन वाज फॉर्म्ड फर्स्ट इरिगेशन कमिशन वाज फॉर्म्ड okay and the target was to expand canal irrigation canal irrigation in Punjab canal irrigation in Punjab around 2.6 million hectares of land around 2.6 million hectares of lands 1901 ମସିହାରେ ଆମର ତିଆରି କରାଗଲା ଇରିଗେସନ କମିଶନ ହେଲା ଫାର୍ଷ୍ଟ କମିଶନ 1901 ମସିହାରେ ସେଥିରେ କ'ଣ କରାଗଲା ପ୍ରଥମେ ଏକ୍ସପେରିମେଣ୍ଟାଲ ବେସିସରେ ସେମାନେ କ'ଣ କଲେ ପଞ୍ଜାବ ଇଜ ଏ ପ୍ଲେନ୍ ଲ୍ୟାଣ୍ଡ ତେଣୁ ସେମାନେ ଚାହିଁଲେ ପଞ୍ଜାବରେ ପ୍ରଥମେ ଏକ୍ସପେରିମେଣ୍ଟ ଷ୍ଟାର୍ଟ କରିବେ and the target was by 1906 1906 ମସିହା ସୁଦ୍ଧା ପାଖାପାଖି 2.6 ମିଲିୟନ ହେକ୍ଟର୍ସ ଅଫ୍ ଲ୍ୟାଣ୍ଡକୁ ୱାଟର ଫ୍ୟାସିଲିଟେଟ୍ କରାଯିବ ठीक अच्छे ना नहीं but it was partially done the main problem was that the colonial government only renovated some of the existing canals and water bodies कहीं के टाइम टेकिंग है कि पार्शियल सक्सेसफुल होला प्रॉपर कैनाल इरिगेशन डेवलप करा गलानी जो गुडा आगुर पॉन्ड्स थिला किबा आगुर बॉन्ड थिला किबा एक्जिस्टिंग वाटर बॉडी थिला ताकू से माने रिनोवेट करले which could not fulfill the real purpose of the commission ए पॉइंट बुझी परले
Yes, sir.
okay and in 1916 a triple canal project came into existence triple canal project came into existence 1916 मसीहा रे out project develop करा गला by the colonial government triple canal project and what is triple canal project तो हमें कहू छ what does it mean to divide the irrigational water into three front target रहिला कोन नंबर 1 is the cash crop को दिया जीव वाटर दिया जीव सेकंड होउची लोक माने कॉमन पीपल को वाटर प्रोवाइड करा जीव नंबर 3 होउची जो एरिया रे एग्रीकल्चर ड्यू शॉर्टेज ऑफ वाटर जो एग्रीकल्चर डिस्ट्रॉय होउची वाटर वुड बी प्रोवाइडेड बट अनफॉर्चूनेटली all the proposals of this project failed due to the empathetic attitude of colonial government এটা কেন सक्सेसफुल হেই নথিলা কিবা ম্যাটেরিয়ালাইজ হেই নথিলা 1916 মସିହାରେ जो ଆମେ କହୁଛି जो ପ୍ରୋଜେକ୍ଟଟା ହେଇଥିଲା କେବେ सक्सेसफुल ହେଇ ପାରି ନଥିଲା କାରଣ ତା ପାଇଁ ଫଣ୍ଡସ୍ प्रॉब्लम रहिला colonial government central government जोटा ଆମେ କହୁଛେ it did not want to release high amount of money heavy amount of money for that purposes जा फल रे एटा केबे सक्सेसफुल हेई पारि नथिला ठीक अछि so these are the some sort of some few key elements related to the water management by the colonial government even after independence गोटे मन रखि था after independence आपण सरप्राइज है आपण इंडिपेंडेंस पर फर्स्ट इरिगेशन कमिशन आसी 1969 में ठीक अछि ना नहीं कि even after 2 decades after achieving independence or after partition we formulated or we established our first commission 1969 प्रथम आस्त्रे इरिगेशन कमिशन जोटा आसीथिला it was set up in 1969 ठीक अछि आपण बुझी पारले जो पॉइंट गुडा हम डिस्कशन करले
यस सर
काची डाउट किछ अछि आपण मानकर कार को पॉइंट रे
नो सर
ओके आमे काली डिस्कशन करिबा लेट्स सी मु कोन डिस्कशन करि पारछ आपनकर कोर्स से कोन कोन अछि देखिबी ठीक अछि कारण मो जोगुडा सिग्निफिकेंट मते लागु से जिंस गुडा मु टच करू ठीक अछि तेनु आपण मानन को पुनी जोगुडा मते लागिबो ठीक ठाक बा जोगुडा आपण पई जरूरी विल डिस्कस टुमारो
यस सर थैंक यू सर
So thank you very much, sir.
Okay. See you tomorrow. Bye bye. Yeah.
Thank you, sir.